At Federal, we have products for every season and every pursuit. Our passionate and dedicated teams design, build, and deliver the world's best American-made ammunition, whether you're hunting, target shooting, or defending yourself and family. Our pride and hard work can be found in every box, ammo can, or bottle of ammunition. For us, it's always in season. It's Federal season.
Welcome, Federal Ammunition's podcast. It's Federal season. I'm Tom Sega, President and CEO of Duluth Pack, another Minnesota mainstay for outdoor recreation. I'm pleased to guest host this episode focusing on 100 years of Federal ammunition. Joining me today is President of Federal Jason Vanderbrink and VP of Marketing Jason Nash.
Great to be here with you.
Jason, welcome.
Thanks, Tom. It's good to be here, and thanks for making the trek down from the great city of Duluth to downtown Anoka, Minnesota. What a great place to be on a Tuesday morning.
You know, this is pretty cool because we're in the Historical Society in Anoka, Minnesota, and in the setup that they've done for Federal, which obviously we'll get into that during the podcast today, but walking around here before we started, it is pretty cool, and people need to come and view this.
Yeah, it's cool.
100 years, that's something special that we're going to get into today.
It's a lot of history. I mean, we've been here working with this Historical Society to sort through a lot of great artifacts, and there's just a lot of great material.
Folks, for this special episode, in our first segment today, we're going to look at people who make Federal's history so interesting and some pivotal moments in the first 100 years. In the second segment, we'll look at some innovations and other monumental decisions that has propelled Federal to be the number one. Did you hear that, folks? Number one ammunition maker in the world. Pretty impressive, fellas.
It is. It's from our humble beginnings, as we'll get into, to where we are today. A lot of hard work and a lot of innovation and a lot of thought have went into making Federal who we are today.
We're on location today recording this special episode. We're at the Anoka County Historical Society among the new exhibit highlighting Federal's first 100 years. And this will be open to the public, and people can learn more in the news and notes segment. Jason Nash, talk a little bit about the company prior to becoming Federal Cartridge Company.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, Federal Cartridge and Machine Company was founded in 1916 by a couple of brothers, Harry and Louis Sherman, who actually came from Western Cartridge in St. Louis, and there's a connection there with Olin, of course. And they were a couple of guys who were really good at starting things, but didn't follow through all that well. So the company kind of didn't do all that well. That they only called employees in when they had some orders, and eventually they just weren't very solvent. And that's when, the opportunity for Federal Cartridge Corporation came about.
So that's not really that there was a high and low in the industry. They were just not real good at running a business.
Yeah, in fact, they went on and started American Cartridge Company, which they eventually sold back to Federal. So it's been interesting to see how those guys really were the catalyst for Federal Cartridge Company as it is today. But, they started and left opportunity for others.
And this dates all the way back to 1916.
1916, long time ago.
Holy cow. So, JV, after that business failed, Charles Horn entered as an investor. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Charles is since 1922, he bought Federal from bankruptcy, and started with, if at least when I was a kid in rural Michigan, we'd always go buy BBs in those cardboard tubes. So he bought Federal because they made paper shotgun shells, and that tube he bought so he could put BBs in the tube. And to this day, I have a picture of our first patent on my desk today, which is the Federal shot shell paper tube. That's Federal's first patent and still a very, very good selling item for us today. So it all started with a vision of how to put BBs in a tube because Federal made paper tubes, and to what it is today.
So he wanted to literally buy the company because you made shot shells, and he wanted to put his BBs in it that he was selling to people for BB guns.
Yeah.
Those little old tubes that I still have those little
Absolutely.
old tubes for crying out loud. Well, that's really cool. So let's look at some of the market from early on with Federal and the idea of Charles Horn and where he sold some of these shotgun shells is really what he was selling at the time.
Yeah. So it was Charles was an entrepreneur, to put it mildly, a great visionary, a good astute businessman. But as you have a really nice business, Tom, you still have overhead to cover, right? So you better expand your operations to cover the overhead. So Charles was very thoughtful and where access to ammo would be different and differentiate, from Remington and Winchester. Honestly, we had to go sell our ammo in different spots, such as a barber shop, such as a hardware store. So if you went into the barber shop and you wanted some pheasant loads, Charles would ensure that we had some ammunition to sell at barber shop. So the points of distribution were much different than the competitors, and it actually got Charles a good start because, you think of in the 20s and 30s, and I can assume a lot of people went to barbershops those days. It was probably a social gathering, much like some corner cafes are today for some farmers and whatnot. But that's how Federal started, with those points of distribution. It's really cool. It's really enlightening, and it's thoughtful. It absolutely made sense to sell ammo where you don't have any competitors. And at the time, barbershops and hardware stores made absolute perfect sense.
I like this one. And pool halls.
That's right.
I guess back in the day, you know what? You got to find a different way to skin the cat. That's pretty cool. And, that's what entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
Is they hustle. They beat somebody else to the punch.
That's right.
And, back in, if you think about it, 1922, how many hardware stores were there? Because there were no big box stores.
That's right.
So it was hardware stores.
All mom and pop hardware stores, barbershops. It was probably very plentiful.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So Nash, let's talk a little bit about today's generation, and as I shouldn't say today's, but as they moved forward to the Fauché Tower downtown, and tell us some fun stories and fun facts.
Yeah, the Fauché Tower is it's amazing to think that they used to have an office down there. And a guy who used to work for me has passed on, Bill Stevens, who was our conservation manager and started that program with 4-H Shooting Sports, actually sat next to Charlie back in the day. So he had a lot of rich history that I've heard over my years here. But one of the fun things we found out about Charles is, he had this red Buick Tourer that he would actually deliver some of the deliveries to barbershops and some of these distribution points early in his days. And he also was big on connecting directly with employees, much like our president today is, Jason. And he would actually hand out checks from his red Buick on payday Fridays. So it was pretty interesting to hear that. And, the other thing about Federal was innovative in how they distributed products, but also in the way they branded. The opportunity back then they saw was we do some of it today too, which was, private label for Montgomery Ward's, for Sears, a lot of these different places. So you see some super unique packaging in our history, from Redheads, which was Montgomery Ward's back then, and Revelation. We've got all these super cool old brands that are really fun to look at and have really, been part of the spirit that we see today in how we go to market.
Do you know, so you put this awesome book together, The 100 Years of Federal Ammunition, a hardcover book that I think if it's for sale out there, fellas, everyone needs to buy it. And I, not only prepping for this, but JV was nice enough to send me one, and I read that thing cover to cover. There is a picture of Horn in a Buick, but it's black and white, so I don't know if it's the red Buick. but the guy needs to put some air in his tires.
Yeah, they didn't have run flat technology back then.
Right. In that picture, it's a great picture. And to think that he would deliver from Fauché Tower, he'd come all the way out to Anoka. I mean, that was a hike.
Yeah, for
Come
sure.
on, that was a hike to pay everybody their payroll at the end of the week. And then for him to be running around the countryside, you know, the roads couldn't have been the greatest in the world. And you look at that car and it's like, that is some history. Do you guys have that car?
We do not.
We don't. No, we should.
Yeah.
It's too bad we don't, actually. It'd be
Exactly.
a great artifact.
Yeah, it would
to
be
have.
cool.
I thought of that when I was looking at artifacts here at the Historical Society, and when I was reading the book, it would be to have that car renovated would be pretty cool.
It'd be really cool.
So let's talk real quick about, because I want to get in on this deal, $17 for 512 gauge shells.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of inflation since then. But, that was a long time ago. But yeah, and they actually used to pack 12 gauge shot shells in a 500 round case. It came in a wood crate, and we've got a lot of those that we're showcasing in our exhibits this year. So yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine as you look at anybody's history, you know, how prices have changed, how configurations have changed, and we're fortunate to still be sitting in the original building that was made in 1916 back then.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because from the studying that I did, it's a 320-foot by 60-foot building. That's the original building. So you incorporated the rest of the growth and expansion around that?
Yeah, so that original building actually is still where Jason and I sit today. So since 1916, I mean, the building's still there. We just built around it. So you look at the original building, it looks more like a long U, if you will. And then we just built the center out of it. And today, I mean, our offices, you can still see it in the catalog where our offices are today. The same brick, everything's the same. Probably didn't have air conditioning back then, so that's a little different. But other than that, it's exactly the same as it was.
We'll give you the AC. How's
Right.
that? But you know
Exactly.
what? To have that history as part of the company, 100-year-old legacy, is pretty cool that you keep that and you keep that as
Yeah,
your offices.
For sure.
You have a few other strong figures in the history of the company, John Haller and Bob Elin. John Haller, first employee. Tell us about him.
So John actually was part of the original Federal cartridge before Charlie took it over in 1922. So he was the plant manager, and Charlie, when he took over, realized, look, I don't know anything about ammunition. I deal with steel balls and BBs looking for paper tubes. So he went back and hired John to really teach him about ammunition and to run the factory. And so he was a pivotal character in the history of Federal.
Did he come up from St. Louis then?
No, he was here in Anoka.
Okay.
He was part of the original shotgun shell factory here. They really had only made 12 gauge shells. They had a plan to do other gauges as well, but that's all they were able to get done, as part when the Sherman brothers ran the company. So when Charles came in, he said, listen, he was a smart manager. He said, I don't know how to do this, but I need to put the right people in place to get this product up and running. And John was the guy who ran the factory for him.
And Bob Elin, I mean, holy cow, 57-year history at one company? Tell us about this guy. This is incredible.
There's a reason the street going into our building is named after Bob. He actually started on the floor. I think he was sweeping the floors. He was actually part of the cleanup crew and worked his way all the way up to eventually mayor of Anoka throughout his tenure. So really one of those guys who was, kind of quietly built up, a great career there and had a big influence on Federal and who it is today.
At 23 years old, he's promoted to plant manager, and he'd already had a pretty good tenure at the company. So the guy, if you're going to be there 57 years, you either live pretty old or you start really early or a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I would love to have some employees. 57 years. That is absolutely amazing. So let's fast forward a little bit. So one of the big turning points at Federal Ammunition was the Twin Cities Ordinance plant. Can you explain that a little bit, JV?
Yeah, so the Twin Cities Ordnance Plant was over not too far from where I live today. It's actually just straight east of Anoka, probably 15 miles or so. And obviously, during World War II, the U.S. Army needed more munitions to service our troops and the Allies' troops. So they came up with Twin City Ordnance, which is much like Lake City Ordnance Plant today, Lake City Army Ordnance, LCAAP, Lake City Ammunition Army Plant out of Kansas City. So we got the contract, federal got the contract to run that for the U.S. government, which is how they do it today. And we've been fortunate enough under ATK and under other leadership to run Lake City as well. So that it was in its peak of World War II, 26,000 employees to run the Twin City Ordnance Plant, making all kinds of different munitions for the U.S. and the Allied forces. And that really sprung Federal into learning how to get into the centerfire business, to expand from the shot shell offerings, which we started under, to really learning how to do rifle ammunition and pistol ammunition as well. Gave us a lot of expertise. And again, 26,000 people in the 40s in the Twin Cities is a humongous employer. So that really, really springboarded Federal into becoming the full line manufacturer of ammunition that we are today.
Did Federal own the Twin Cities Ordnance Plant, or were they commissioned to like build it and run it?
Yeah, so the way the government does it even today, it's government property. You're a contractor of the government to run the facility. So the government knows that sometimes the private sector runs businesses better in some instances. So in this instance, Army owns the plant, they own the equipment, and they contract Federal to run the ordnance plant.
26,000 employees. How many employees do you have at Federal today?
Around 1,500.
So we have 1,500, and during wartime, it was 26,000 at the ordnance plant.
Yeah,
That
pretty
is
amazing.
Absolutely incredible.
Very
Let's
much.
talk about all hands on deck.
That's right.
Holy cow. So one of the original products is still being manufactured today. And tell us about the Federal papers.
Still the best target shotgun shell made. Not saying that because we work for Federal. I think if you asked a lot of shooters today, what if you had one choice of a target load, what would it be? Many of them would say Federal papers. Still made the same exact way we started back in the 20s. And it's got six layers of it. Each layer has paraffin wax on it. So when you shoot a Federal paper, everyone loves the smell. It's like Hoppy's number 9, right? You smell it, and it's a smell that sticks with you, and frankly smells good. So that's from the paraffin wax that's in the hull, and so it takes several days to season that hull because you got to layer it, you wax it, you layer it, you wax it. So we put them in humidity controlled rooms. And they sit in there for, I don't know, don't quote me on the number of days, but it's more than a week. They have to sit there so the wax impregnates in the paper, and then we send it to the factory to get loaded. So it is a extreme labor-intensive product. That's why they do cost more than a plastic hull, because there's a lot more labor and time go into them. But there's not a better shotgun shell made today. It shoots soft, less felt recoil, better patterns. So if you want the best shotgun shell made, we make it the same way as we did in the 20s. And contrary to belief, because I get on some blogs once in a while because I'm an avid clay target shooter, we haven't changed the way we made that thing. We still use the same crates that we carry the hulls in that we have in the 20s. So it is made the same way, contrary to what anyone can say. And if you still want the best, it's still there available for you.
Pretty much, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's right. It's hard to improve on the performance of that shell.
So I'm going to tell you a horrific story. I was sitting around a bonfire literally in the last week with some neighbors that were moving. And he was telling a story that after his father had passed, he just got all kinds of stuff from his dad. And as they were getting ready to move, he decided, you know what, I need to just purge some of this stuff. And he goes, yeah, I had 4 boxes that were in perfect condition of wax paper shotgun shells. and I threw them away.
Oh, no.
boy.
And I wanted to cry. And I said, tell me you didn't. And I said, which dump did they go to? Because I might try to go dig them up. This is in the last week that came up. And I said, those are worth some money.
That's right. They are.
Those are worth
Absolutely.
some definite money. So can you tell us a little bit about the current footprint? What, we're fast forwarding now a little bit, and what the current footprint, because we started with, let me look here. I forget the exact size.
We started with a 320 by 60 building.
Thank you very much. And what do we have today? A little bigger than that?
So today we are on about 170 acres inside, for the most part, inside the city of Anoka. We do on the very eastern border where the railroad track comes through the factory. We do touch into the city of Coon Rapids. So we're literally inside the city limits of two cities. The factory for the most... I'm trying to think. All of the factory is within the city limits of Anoka. Some of the primer fields are in the city limits of Coon Rapids. And we have about 750,000 square feet of manufacturing space today. Encompasses, I don't know how many acres just of manufacturing space, but from a 320 to 60 to 750,000 square feet today, it's pretty darn humbling how big we have become. But most importantly, how humble that we always need to be and how we always will be, because I think in business, you always need to be humble and you always need to be working for those breadcrumbs, because there's a point in time where businesses become complacent, and complacency kills businesses, and we will never be that.
I don't think under your leadership there's going to be a whole lot of complacency happening. And all you have to do is look at history of what companies have done if that happens, and it never turns out very well for them.
No.
Let's talk about 1920. You had original shot shells. That's what the plant made. So, Nash, you were talking about shotgun shells in 1920, and that's all they did was 12-gauge shells. They didn't even go into the other calibers. But now there's rimfire, there's centerfire, there's pistol, and then I want to talk a little bit about, because you make your own primers. Can you tell us all about that?
Yeah, rimfire came in 1924, and with the same strategy of a lot of private label. So we're going through some of our packaging collection recently and have some really cool brands, Hiawatha. It's just really fun to see those old designs. But yeah, primers are really what set us apart still today as a company. The ability to manufacture our own primers, and really the federal primer is sought after by reloaders. We just have every consumer show we go to, that the guys are coming up asking, when they'll be able to find primers, and we're making more than we ever have. So that has really been the key to federal success, among other things.
So you started with shot shells. You went to, was it in order Rimfire, or was it centerfire next? Do you know?
Rimfire was second.
So Rimfire, then centerfire, then obviously pistol loads. Can you talk a little bit about the police forces out there and your relationship with federal? Yeah,
so Federal Premium has a great history of supporting law enforcement. Today, we manufacture some of the best law enforcement rounds that there is under the HST sub-brand. HydroShock really started the craze of, a true duty round instead of just a regular lead hollow point. HydroShock, Federal changed personal defense protection with HydroShock back in the 70s, I believe. And HydroShock really to this day still has a tremendous following. We've improved upon HydroShock with the HST round, and on the pistol side of the business, on the rifle side of the business, with T3, which is the standard 223 round out there, used by many law enforcement agencies, federal, state, and local. So Jason talked about Federal's strength on the primer side. Federal's other biggest strength is bonding bullets, without question. If you had to say what are the two strengths of our company, it's the primers, number one. And then also a number one is how we bond a bullet. So, when we designed HST, when we designed T3, some other loads out there that agencies use today that are not open to the public, it is our bonding capabilities that separate us from everyone else.
Can you tell us about PV and some of the quality measures and quality control that you use at Federal?
Yeah, so quality has to be number one. Not only is it the right thing to do, but we also need to understand that literally people's lives depend on our quality. So every lot that we make, it doesn't matter if it's rimfire, shot shell, centerfire rifle, centerfire pistol, goes through a stringent quality testing for accuracy, pressure, and velocity. So we'll take random samples from absolutely every lot, and we shoot them every day. I don't know how many rounds we shoot every day, but it's an unbelievable amount of ammunition that we do testing. And if it doesn't fall within our strict quality controls, we absolutely don't pass that whole lot. So every lot, every day, every shift is tested, and we will never, ever get away from that. Quality is who we are, and quality is who we always will be.
Well, and hooray to that. And you know what? That's when you're talking about American made here in the good old USA. Every company you talk to, that's one of the things that there is a common theme between every one of us, and that is quality.
Absolutely. It's our customers depend on it, and we will never let them down.
In 1977, Federal changed the way ammunition was loaded. You started loading bullets for other manufacturers. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we started out in 1977 really to I think 77 was probably a turning point for our company where you focus on the end user more. And it started with two companies, with Nosler and Sierra. So not only sometimes we have to put our egos aside and say, hey, what does the end user look for? The end user wanted more performance out of a bullet, but they wanted in factory ammunition. So what we started with Nosler partition, the Sierra boat tail. So we loaded Sierra and Nosler ammunition in the Federal Premium line. So if a hunter or shooter wanted a Sierra bullet, then at the time they had to hand load. So why not offer in factory ammunition with the stringent test controls that we put under the Federal Premium brand, or just offer Sierra and Nosler in factory loaded ammo, and we created a whole new category which has been blossoming to this day, Federal Premium ammunition. It was our loads with someone else's bullet.
I think that seemed to make a big change in the hunting industry. I think you think of whitetail deer, you think of mule deer, you think of elk, and you talk about the Nosler partition or the boat tail, and that's all you heard for a while. And I'm old enough to remember when that was happening, and it really seemed to revolutionize a lot of big game hunting.
Absolutely. I mean, we literally created that category.
And then when Jason became president of Federal, he went back to that and said, look, we've lost some of these bullets, so let's start to put more into the premium line and then let the consumer vote on which bullets they want. And that concept's gone a step further when he introduced the custom shop, where people can actually go in and choose which caliber they want, and they can pick any number of bullets, in fact, broader than what we offer in our standard product catalog. And that's been fun to watch.
Is that all under the premium brand then?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. The custom shop real quickly is somebody like myself that's not into hand loading, but understands that the hand loaders can get a little bit more things out of, and people like tweaking and doing things like that. Is that what the custom shop was really the thought pattern around it was, hey, we might have people that aren't going to hand load, but they want some attributes that you might get from hand loading?
Yeah, I think that, the gist of the custom shop was, for one, to continue to show consumers the power of our brand. Federal Premium is the benchmark for rifle ammo, period. Always will be. It's the gold standard. I mean, NRA ran a cover with us as we're gold standard. But there are just some things where we can't put it in the big factory because the changeover time is too long. You have to keep the factory going. But there are customers who love Federal, but we didn't offer a bullet at the time under the Federal Premium brand, and I'll pick on Horn of the ELDX. A great bullet out in the market, very popular bullet. We don't offer that in the Federal Premium line just because we don't have enough room to. But there's a lot of people who love the ELDX bullet. So if you want an ELDX bullet, but you love Federal because of our accuracy, because of our primers, our propellant, you can order Hornady ELDX in our custom shop. And on the rifle side, so you, like Jason mentioned, you have a much more expanded offering of bullets. On the shot shell side is probably where we see tremendous amount of growth with TSS. So today, for instance, we don't offer 10 gauge turkey loads with TSS. It's our number one selling custom shop load. We don't offer 28 gauge TSS. It's our second best selling custom shop load. So, as TSS has revolutionized shot shell, much like Federal did in 1977, the custom shop gives customers exactly what they want under the gauge they want, under the size shot they want. And it is without question the best value in the ammunition business is our custom shop, without question.
10 gauge TSS. Are we using howitzers out there? I mean, what are we trying to shoot? I mean,
some people really hate turkeys, I think.
I think they must, or they are really poor callers and they can't get them close enough, so we might as well get them out yonder.
Yeah. It's $149. It's about $15 a shot, right?
1,000 pellets.
1,000 pellets. And it is a tremendous. You think of all the old SP10s out there, the Ithaca 10 gauges, the BPS 10 gauges, and no one loaded factory 10 gauge TSS, right? So it's just a fun project to see what it can do. And it's just a tremendous offering for our customers. And they are certainly embracing it because it's much bigger than we ever thought it would be. We thought it'd be kind of this fun experimental project, but it's actually turned into a nice business now.
I'm good with 3.5-inch TSS loads. I literally, trying to be ethical, I had a crippled duck, and my buddies at duck camp were around me, and this cripple was going out. Best guess was 100 yards on the water, and I rolled it.
Yeah, if no one has ever not tried it, it changes the game like to something you can't imagine.
It is absolutely amazing. Folks, TSS, go get yourself some. And boy, you 10 gauge guys, you're tougher than I am, I'll tell you. Holy cow. JV, tell us about your tenure at Federal. You've had a great run.
Yeah, it's been a great run with all of our team, right? I mean, that's our whole management team. From Jason, I think he's worked here longer than I have. So I've been here almost 18 years. I think it'll be 18 years in October or September of this year. So we started up on the sales side, calling on a little account in Bentonville, Arkansas called Walmart. So I had no idea what in the world to call on Walmart meant. So it was the school of hard knocks. Right, here's your account. They're Walmart. They're your biggest account back in the day.
Go get them, Tiger.
Go get them. Go, right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So from there, it's just been we've been very fortunate as a family, but most importantly, we have a great supporting cast at Federal. So I certainly wouldn't be where I'm at today without the team around me, because the team around me is as tenured as I am, if not more. So again, you just have this scrappy. We just have a scrappy attitude with our company. We were certainly, and I don't know how the DNA of the company continues through the 20s of literally going to barbershops and pool halls to where we are today. But we've always never, ever taken number one for granted, and we never will. I don't ever want us to see us come into like a Sears and Roebuck or Kmart. There's some monster U.S. companies who become complacent. And, if you'd have said 20 years ago, Sears and Roebuck would be out of business or Kmart would be out of business, no way, right? And we have to always be, if there's two things that will keep Federal in number one's position, always focus on the end user, because if you focus on the end user and work backwards in the organization, you'll always win. And two, you'll always be innovative, right? Customers demand new. Doesn't matter if you're selling iPhones or if you're selling ammunition. They want what's the latest and greatest. So don't become complacent. Always drive for new. Never, ever be happy with the status quo. Always challenge the status quo. And if we do that, we follow, literally, it's that simple. It will be in good hands here for the next 100 years. No doubt we don't know what the industry holds, but I think our DNA, if they hold those truths self-evident, as an important document of our industry says, Federal will be in great hands going forward.
You said a couple of key words there. One was stay scrappy, and the other one was humble.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you're number one, if you don't act like it,
That's right.
you're always going to be hungry and innovative. And like you said, who really matters at the end of the day? Yes, all of our employees do at all of our companies, but the customer.
Because if you start with the person shooting our ammunition, and you address those needs, you are so far ahead the competition. But don't do it where you're arrogant, right? You have to be humble and scrappy, and never take that number one position for granted, and we'll be fine, right? It's literally, I'm not the smartest business guy in the world, but certainly if you just do those two things, I think you're ahead of the competition, and you'll prosper.
Well, I think you're pretty smart, and I think you're pretty intelligent on also surrounding yourself with some really smart people.
All right, that's the key.
I've met a lot of them, and I'm always humbled by them, and feel like a pretty unintelligent human being when I'm around your team. So there's been a recent announcement. So you start with the humble beginnings of having this little teeny account in sales called Walmart, and there's a recent announcement. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we announced a couple weeks ago. So Vista was a product of a spinoff of Alliant Tech Systems with back in like 7 or 8 years ago. It's probably been now. So Vista Outdoor was formed, and we just announced a couple weeks ago. So Vista is going to spin out our outdoor products businesses, which is, think of Bushnell, Bell-Giro, Camelback, Camp Chef, Stone Glacier. So we're going to be what we call a Remain Co. So we're going to remain Vista Outdoor, although we will rename ourselves. But we are going to spin out our outdoor products. So we will be a pure play ammunition company. So CCI, Spear, Federal, Remington, Heavy Shot, Estate will be our own publicly traded company. And then our outdoor products business will also be a publicly traded company with much leading 1 and 2 brands of their industry. You think of Camelback and Bell-Giro, Bushnell, Primos, Hoppies, RCBS, some awesome brands right on the outdoor product side. So we're going to split up, and then we'll be Remain Co. They will be Spin Co. And Chris Metz, who's our CEO of Vista Outdoor, will go to the outdoor products side as CEO, and I'll be CEO of the ammunition side. And exciting times, great value for our shareholders, and it'll be Federal. I was trying to think the other day. I don't know how many times we've been spun out of companies with Blount, Pentair, ATK. I mean, I think this is our number 4 or 5 of being split out. So we will be sometime in 2023 our own publicly traded company. So it's exciting times, great exciting times for our shareholders, for our employees, and you know what? I've always said it. We have the best team in the industry, and we'll be able to flourish as our own standalone company as well.
I think it's going to be pretty exciting for the customers as well.
It will be, for sure.
That's pretty cool. So let's go back to the pandemic. During the pandemic, as we all know, if you went to the shelves of any of your favorite sporting goods stores and tried to find shelves, it was becoming very difficult for the consumer. And thank goodness I don't have any social media, because it would have just been very frustrating for me. But I heard a lot of stories, and then you decided to address some of these false stories that were circulating around social media and made a YouTube video. Can you tell us the thought pattern behind that and what the outcome of that actually was?
Yeah, so we obviously what the thought pattern was very simple. Sometimes when you got to play offense on messaging, and we thought at the time it was all of a lot of conspiracy theories going around that just frankly were just 100% false, and some of those theories go around to this day. But whatever, people can believe whatever. So it was just literally something as basic as sitting in our office with Nash and said, hey, we have to get our message out, right? Because I don't want our employees They can do whatever they want to me, right? They can say whatever they want. It doesn't bother me. And much like you, Tom, I have zero social media presence, and I don't want any social media presence. I just want to concentrate on running a business. And so we decided to go out there and walk the factory so our customers can see for ourselves that we are working 24/7. We're not storing it in secret warehouses. That one there always was like, that one probably of all of the theories that I've heard about, that one really confused me because we're a public company today. Any customer can go look at our quarterly filings, and if your revenue grows, that means you're not storing product, right? You are shipping product as fast as you can. So we just wanted to walk the factory and let customers see for themselves that we are working 24/7. Our employees are working through a pandemic, so all of our customers can get more ammo. Now, I sometimes can ask the question, why can't we do it fast enough? Why can't we just turn the lights on and build a new factory? Why can't we just make more 9mm? Supply chain has been a problem. Labor is a problem. You got to hire people. You have to train people. You have to ensure you have the materials to load the ammo. But the team had done a tremendous amount in a relatively short period of time in manufacturing. And, as far as our revenue growth during the pandemic, it was just awesome. And, the thought of the video was literally to be on the offense of the messaging. Get out there, show people that we're making ammo. We're not shipping it to the government. We're not shipping it in warehouses. And it was over 2 million views was the first one. And I think the comments for the most part were very favorable, maybe in the 90 percentile of favorable comments. And you know what? The people who are negative about that, that's fine, right? The great thing about our country is you can believe what you want and you can have a space to believe what you want. We just wanted to be the source of the truth.
It was interesting because my phone blew up the day that you did that, and people are like, JV did a YouTube today for a lot of the naysayers out there on social media, and you could tell you were upset by some of the things being said. My question would be, does anyone really believe that the shareholders of a company would be okay with you just sitting and filling warehouses when you had a customer base to pay good money for this, that you're just going to fill warehouses with it?
That's the irony of it. We're a publicly traded company. We have to deliver to our shareholders. But, it was really more or less, you could walk the floor. I walk the floor every day. I still walk the factory floor every day today. You could see the employees really, the morale was starting to go down because it wanes on them. They're working 12 hours a day. It's hot. It's humid in Minnesota in the summer, and it was waning on them. So I did the video really to lift up the employees to say, hey, you our employees, we're working around the clock. We appreciate you. Management appreciates you. And the naysayers are going to be the naysayers. That's fine, right? But let's get our story out there so we give our employees, a lot of good credit that they deserve. That's why we did it.
And maybe the people that were jumping on the coattails of the naysayers heard it from you first, and they're going, okay, wait a minute, they're addressing this.
Right.
Who do I really believe?
Exactly. I mean, there's a baby formula shortage today, right? So shortages happen. It's just, how fast this one happened. Really, no company could react. We reacted as fast as we possibly could, and I think the data shows that. But you can't prepare for everything. But when these situations come, it certainly shows you how good of a team you have and how nimble we are, that we were so ready to react as fast as we could, and we did.
That's pretty cool. They always say the way to a good offense is a great defense. Well, sometimes it's a great offense to be defensive toward some of the naysayers when it's just flat out wrong.
Yeah, it was just wrong.
And that it's still resonating today. We just got back from the NRA convention, and people came up and asked us questions other than availability, so that the message got across. And up until that point, our top video was under 1 million views, and it was Brock Lesnar with Fusion. And so Jason took down Brock Lesnar with that video.
Figuratively speaking.
I was going to say, wait a minute. You look like a pretty strong guy, but I've also met Brock Lesnar.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah. What were you thinking? So before we go to the second segment, let's talk about some of your mission statement, and some of that is conservation, youth sports, and Nash, I know you guys are really involved with the high school trap teams. Can you tell us about the involvement from Federal?
Yeah, that's another one of those elements that's been with Federal through all of its history. Charles Horn believed in it. Jason believes in it. We've had that's always been a fabric of who we are and what we do. And we still have a dedicated team today that works on youth shooting sports, making sure they get product when they need it so they can support the future of shooting sports, and conservation. We do more than any other ammunition company, or really any other company in this industry, to support conservation through on-box royalty programs, putting dollars on the ground through key organizations like Pheasants Forever, who's local here. We work with every conservation group to make sure that we continue to have that legacy and that habitat available for people to enjoy it for years to come.
I heard a statistic recently that, and the one I heard is for the state of Minnesota, where we all live, is the number one growing sport in high school sports is trap. And since its inception, it is the only sport that has had 0 injuries.
That's right.
It's a great story. It's an inclusive sport. There may be people who aren't strong enough and fast enough to compete in different kinds of traditional, athletic pursuits. So this is a great place for anybody can come and succeed. And I think it's shown throughout the growth of trap shooting. And then, we're seeing it also translate into more sporting clay shooters. That's been a huge area of growth for the shooting sports outside of high school. So we're excited to see that, and we want to continue to be a great source for these programs to have ammunition and be able to shoot.
I think that is so cool, because you talk about the inclusivity of it, and heck, the girls can outshoot the boys, and the kid that's 5'1" and 120 pounds dripping wet can outdo the big old offensive linemen. I think that just makes it so cool that anybody can do this sport, and it doesn't have to do with how fast you are, how big you are, or anything else.
No, it's awesome. That's the only way to put it.
When we come back after the break, we'll continue to talk to Jason and Jason of Federal Ammunition, and we'll talk about some of the innovations that make Federal the leader in providing customers with the best ammunition in the world.
It's a legacy 100 years in the making, where American ingenuity met a trailblazing spirit. Hard work united with patriotism. Technology blended with new ideas. Right here in Anoka, Minnesota. Born in 1922, made in America, proud to be the best. A century of innovation, and we're just getting warmed up. Welcome back to It's Federal Season and our technology segment, Tech Talk.
Welcome back to It's Federal Season podcast. I'm your guest host, Tom Sega, President and CEO of Duluth Pack. Let's talk about the lifeblood of a company, and that is new products, new innovations. JV, can you tell us on some of the things that are coming out at Federal?
Yeah, new products is a good point, Tom. It's absolutely the lifeblood of any company, and your assurances of being new and not being stale and complacent. We can take Terminal Ascent, for instance, which is a bullet that we introduced a couple years ago, I think last year. It is, without question, the best hunting bullet made at any range. So one of the challenges that you have in engineering a bullet is, does it perform at 1,000 yards as good as it performs at 50 yards? Because I think maybe I'm one of the few people today that doesn't shoot a deer at 1,000 yards, but long range shooting is certainly it's a hot topic, and it's a hot category, right? So again, regardless if we agree in long range shooting or not, I personally think some people shouldn't shoot as long as they do. But the consumers want a bullet that performs at all ranges. Terminal Ascent gives you that. So again, at 1,000 yards, at 50 yards, that bullet performs on terminally better than any bullet out in there.
You know, we have a special name in our hunting camp for that because we do shoot those, the Devastator.
Yeah.
It is absolutely devastating.
It is. It is. It absolutely works. And I've shot enough game with it to know that if it's 300 or 400 yards or if it's 100 yards, that animal, if I do my job and place the bullet in the right spot, that bullet is certainly going to perform. Is it going to kill something if you hit it in the hindquarters? Probably not, right? But shot placement is key no matter what bullet you use, as you know. So that has been very good. You know, we came out with Top Gun Bio Wad, which is the wad is literally made of cardboard, and it performs awesome. So, you know, the problem with a biodegradable wad, sometimes it doesn't work in cold weather real well. So the cardboard wad, no matter if it's 100 degrees out, if it's 20 below, that cardboard wad works really well. We've come out with so many different new products in the last 3 years. It's just unbelievable. 30 Super Carry we introduced with Smith & Wesson a couple months ago really revolutionizes personal defense. So it's all about how many rounds can you fit in a magazine today. So we came up with a round that gives you 9mm performance in the size of a .380. So in a standard subcompact gun, you get 2 more rounds in your magazine, and you're not sacrificing any performance. You know, one of the drawbacks of a .380 is it doesn't perform really well if you ever have to use it in a situation. So there was really this subcompact market that is just on fire right now, but really needing a caliber that did not sacrifice performance. So 30 Super Carry with our Smith & Wesson friends, been a tremendous success. That'll be our biggest new product of the year. And we have some awesome new products yet to come that we'll talk about here in the next 6 months or so.
Okay, can we go back and talk about Black Cloud?
Black Cloud revolutionized steel shot. Probably been a decade or so, I bet you, since we bought Black Cloud out. So with TSS coming out, we had to come out with Black Cloud TSS. So we have some TSS in a steel load, so we bring the price point down. So you get FS steel and TSS, and we make it in 2 different loads in 12 gauge, would be a 3 and a 9. So you're getting a 3 steel, 9 TSS. And then we do a BB7, so BB steel, 7 TSS. So if you want the performance of Black Cloud and the performance of TSS without the big price tag of 100% TSS, Black Cloud TSS there's nothing like it in the market. And I would venture to say if you ever shoot it, you will only shoot that stuff. Gives you the flight control wad, the performance of TSS and the FS steel. Nothing like it. I would not want to be a duck on the receiving end of that.
Well, maybe if I was shooting, you'd be just safe.
Yeah.
JV, can you talk about the introduction of the fire stick for the muzzle loaders?
Yeah, a fun project that we worked with Traditions. You know, I think most of us here probably shoot muzzle loading. And we again, when you start with the end consumer, muzzle loading can be a little intimidating. You know, with Pyrex pellets, it's certainly simplified it, but a lot of people just are getting intimidated by having to put the powder down the bore. Then you stuff the bullet on top. We had to come out with a way that made muzzle loading 1, safe, and 2, easy. So what we did for our consumers is we came out with, think of a 28 gauge hull. Okay, so we put powder in that. So then you load the muzzle loader still through the muzzle with the bullet. But when you break action that gun, you put in essentially a fire stick, which again, think of a 28 gauge hull, you put it in through the breech. So it is all ready for you. The powder's measured. All you do is you insert the primer into the hull and you put the bullet through the top and you're ready to go. So if you have to unload which at some point you need to unload your firearm, you just take the hull out and punch your bullet out, so you don't have to go shoot your muzzleloader anymore to unload it. But again, it is so safe, it is waterproof, and the performance is second to none. I mean, we're seeing 7 feet a second variability on velocities. It is that precise. So what we've done is just with our friends at Tradition, we have revolutionized a category that really for the last 10 years hasn't seen a lot of innovation.
That's really innovative when you think about it in the environment of water, snow, your muzzle loading. What are we always worried about?
That's
moisture.
Right. Moisture.
And now you've completely eliminated that variable.
Absolutely. And it is so safe and so unintimidating. So if a customer has ever wanted to muzzle load hunt, it is so simple now. Again, think of the end user and come backwards from that and you'll be fine.
Folks, it's the introduction of the Fire Stick. You got to go read about it. It's pretty super cool.
It's way cool.
It's way cool. Can you talk a little bit about HOA?
Yeah, so federal has, with federal papers, a tremendous following in the shooting sports. But our drawback of plastic premium hulls federal has always been the number 3 player in that. So when we acquired Remington makes the best hull in the industry for reloaders. So the STS and Nitro 27 hull has always been the gold standard that reloaders wanted to use that hull. They liked the performance of Federal, but the gold medal was not a reloadable hull very well. It had a steel base. It was a straight hull, so you had to use a special wad. So what we did is the minute we acquired Remington is we knew the path to get Federal to be the number 1 or 2 player was to use an STS hull. So we're using an STS or Nitro 27 hull with a Remington primer. We're shipping those loads up to Anoka. We came up with a new one-piece wad, which is what customers wanted in the podium wad. So now we have a tapered hull, a one-piece podium wad, which feels, it does definitely soften the recoil, the way the design of the base of the wad works. And then we're putting 4% antimony shot in it. So customers get the best of both worlds. They get the best hull on the market so they can reload, a one-piece wad, 4% antimony shot, and it is on fire, to put it mildly. So customers who've always wanted a plastic Federal reloadable hull have the best in the market now.
People can go on the website. They can read about this. They can learn some more about it. They can call customer service if they have questions.
Yeah, you bet.
Where do they find Federal?
Federalpremium.com. It's all of the content is there, and all of our retailers across this country bear with us on the target shotgun shell market. It's a very hot market, so I understand the frustrations of not being able to find it. But trust me, we're making it every day.
Not far from where we're sitting right now.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And how about the social handles?
We've got at Federal Premium. It is where you'll find us on Instagram.
Facebook?
Yeah, we're on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay,
Yep.
Perfect. And you can see on YouTube, you can see JV's videos that he did when he was in the middle of the pandemic, and then obviously new videos since that time.
Yep, all of our new product videos, and we also have a great section on new shooters getting into the industry and some tips and tricks for them as they learn how to use their new firearms properly.
Jason, this has been really cool. But before we go, we want to talk about the culture at the company and people's careers. But it has been so fun to learn more about the history of this absolute heritage company. 100 years old. How cool is that?
We're young compared to your company, Tom.
Well, you know what? Some guys got to pave the way here maybe a little bit. But no, I mean, gosh, 100 years. You just don't see heritage American companies that have just stuck to it, done it here, done it the right way for 100 straight years. That is epic.
It is. No, certainly a lot of great leaders before us.
And you guys take a leadership position, being number 1 in your market in the world. That's amazing. Let's talk about culture, because you have people who have 20-year, 30-year, 40-year, and in the case of Bob Elin, 57-year career. There's something about the culture here. Can you talk a little bit about that and why people would stay that long?
One, we treat our employees very well. First and foremost, we're nothing without our employees. So I'm at the same level as the person loading ammunition on third shift on weekends, right? I don't exist. My job doesn't exist unless our workers are there making ammunition. And so it doesn't matter what position you're in. We have an open door policy. And it doesn't matter what shift you in. Everyone is as important as everyone. There's not one person more important than anyone. And I think that you have to have that because, at the end of the day, like I said, we're just overhead unless we make ammunition, right? So if you have that mentality, and then, but I think we're a passion industry. People love ammunition and they love firearms. How cool is it to work for an ammo company? It doesn't get any cooler, right? It's just a sense of coolness, right? You're making ammunition every day. It doesn't get much better than that. And the benefits that we offer, you get seconds. You can go buy ammo fairly cheap at the company store. But again, we're very, very fortunate that for the most part, our workforce is a passion workforce, knowing and breathing and living and dreaming. They get to make what they enjoy to use in the field every day. And it's a pride of, we make the best. There's no better ammo made than Federal. And I think when you put all of those pieces together, we're a good company. And one of our mottos is we're a career, we're not a job. And I think with our tenured workforce, I think it certainly shows that our workforce believes in that as well.
36 years ago when I graduated college, the first place I put in a resume was at Federal Ammunition Company. You guys made a wise choice. You chose not to hire me.
Well, I think that's another great thing about the culture is that we partner with brands that are like us. And I think people see that and they get excited by the fact that we've got Duluth Pack products for sale on our site. We're doing partnerships with Duluth Pack and many other great brands in our industry. So, and even a little bit outside of the industry. So it's been fun to see that. And you see a lot of generations of families go through the factory. We've got many examples of sons and daughters, working where their parents did. And that's been really one of the great things to see as we've studied our history and come to our celebration here of 100 years.
And you actually celebrate a lot of that in the book, the hardcover book, the 100th anniversary of Federal Ammunition, and that's pretty cool when you have generations of people working for the same company. That's a testament to
tells you a lot.
This is a great culture here because why would you ever tell one of your children, hey, go work where dad has worked his whole career because it's a lousy place? I don't think so.
That's right.
You do it because it's a great place and a great career and a family.
Absolutely. And we can't take that lightly.
Jason and Jason, thank you so much for spending your time today with us. This is a really important year in the 100th anniversary of Federal Ammunition Company. And here's to another 100 years, fellas. Congratulations.
Thanks, Tom. We really appreciate you coming down and doing this for us. We love your company and a partnership that we have that goes back many years. And one day, Duluth Pack will always be older than Federal, but we're going to get to 200 years. I know it for a fact, and I know your company will thrive as well.
Well, we certainly hope so. It is our 140th, and we're very proud of that as well. And we understand the steps that you're in right now with this big anniversary year. So yeah. Congratulations.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
When we return, Jason Nash will take over the microphone, and he will interview Cassie of the Anoka County Historical Society and the opening of an exhibit highlighting Federal's first 100 years.
It's a season with no beginning or end, with bonds so strong, not weather or age or thousands of miles keep us from it. Our love for it is as varied as those who are addicted to its pursuit, a connection with the outdoors, with family and your best friend. We plan with anticipation. We prepare and wait in silence. With tired legs, cold hands, we push on. All in hopes of hearing a call that shatters the calm. To see the approach of thundering skies and experience the instantaneous rush. For whatever your reason, this is our season.
Welcome back to It's Federal Season and the News and Notes segment.
Welcome back to the It's Federal Season podcast. I'm VP of Marketing Jason Nash. I'm pleased to have Cassie Mockentune here from the Anoka County Historical Society. You're an archivist, and we're actually doing our podcast in the ACHS today here in Anoka, Minnesota. Let's talk about the partnership and the exhibit. What is it that visitors can expect to see when they come, starting July 9th?
July 9th. They can come in and explore. We got some artifacts such as wooden boxes and crates that they used to store the bullets and whatnot in. We got a couple of machinery things up for people to look at, and a pretty stellar cutout of Charles Horn you can pop in and take a picture with. So yeah, it should be pretty nice.
Perfect. Yeah, I actually see there's a replica of Charles Horn's desk behind us here. That'd be fun for people to actually open the drawers and see what it might have been like to sit in his seat. Yeah,
and it's complete with a carnation too. That was pretty quintessentially Charles Horn, and we got some videos up too that are going to be kind of going through some old pictures and stuff that aren't actually on exhibit. So yeah, should be able to take a peek at those. And we got magazines that visitors can flip through too and actually look at the old monarchs. So
perfect. Yeah, the Monarch was the employee newsletter. That actually we still have an employee newsletter. It's evolved a little bit to incorporate more brands as our company's grown. But yeah, we've got a whole selection of those that people can flip through and see what was happening back in the day.
Absolutely. Maybe find a couple of family members or whatever featured.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who don't know, Charles Horn had a fresh flower every morning when he came into the office. So there was actually a mobile flower shop right there on the grounds. Another interesting fact about Federal and its leader at the time. This display looks fantastic. You all have done a great job. It looks like it's a nice mix of stories, products, and our community involvement. How integral is the company with the community from your perspective?
Very integral. I know when we were setting up the exhibit, that was a big part of when people would come in when we did like a mini opening last summer and just point people out in pictures and tell their own stories when they, found some picture that had a family member. And then we kind of had people write in with different stories. So that's been a big part of, how we've adjusted things and made the community really integral to it. So
perfect. So what's the most interesting thing you've found as you've gone through?
Probably probably all the pictures. I was really stunned by how many pictures, especially from the 70s and the 80s, and how most of those pictures weren't, when you think of a big company, you think of aerial views and things like that. And I was very surprised they took pictures of their employees, and there were so many to go through. So we're hoping that, one day we can get those pictures all processed and then have people come and identify as many of those individuals as we can. So yeah, that was my favorite part.
Awesome. Well, Cassie, it opens to the public on July 9th.
July 9th. Come in and see it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having us here, hosting us, and for coming on and doing a little plug. We're excited to continue the celebration and to have people learn more about Federal.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
If you like the It's Federal Season podcast, be sure to let us know by filling out a rating and review on iTunes. And remember, for us, it's always in season. It's Federal Season.